You're scrolling through social media when you see a friend's vacation photos from Bali. Suddenly, your weekend plans of Netflix and takeout feel inadequate. Your colleague gets promoted while you're still in the same position. A classmate buys their dream house while you're renting a studio apartment. Sound familiar? Welcome to the endless cycle of comparison that plagues nearly every human being on the planet. Comparison is as natural to us as breathing, yet it's one of the most destructive habits we engage in daily. We compare our careers, our relationships, our bodies, our possessions, and even our happiness levels to those around us. But why do we do this to ourselves? And more importantly, how can we break free from this mental prison? The roots of comparison run deep in our evolutionary history. Our ancestors lived in small tribes where social status directly correlated with survival. Those who could accurately assess their position in the group hierarchy were more likely to secure resources, mates, and protection. This constant social monitoring became hardwired into our brains over millions of years. Today, we no longer need to compete for basic survival resources, but our brains haven't caught up with modern reality. We still carry these ancient comparison mechanisms, except now we're comparing ourselves not just to our immediate tribe of 50 people, but to millions of carefully curated highlight reels on social media. Social comparison theory, developed by psychologist Leon Festinger in 1954, explains that we have an innate drive to evaluate ourselves, and we do this primarily by comparing ourselves to others. When we can't measure our abilities or opinions objectively, we look to our peers as benchmarks. This process isn't inherently bad, but it becomes problematic when it dominates our self-perception.
There are two main types of social comparison: upward and downward. Upward comparison happens when we compare ourselves to people we perceive as better off than us. This often leads to feelings of inadequacy, envy, and decreased self-esteem. Downward comparison occurs when we compare ourselves to those we perceive as worse off, which can temporarily boost our ego, but often comes with guilt and doesn't provide lasting satisfaction. The digital age has supercharged our comparison tendencies. Social media platforms are designed to be addictive, feeding us an endless stream of other people's achievements, experiences, and possessions. We see the highlight reel of others' lives while being intimately aware of our own behind-the-scenes struggles, creating an unfair comparison that we're destined to lose. Instagram influencers with perfect bodies, LinkedIn connections celebrating job promotions, Facebook friends documenting their exotic travels. We're constantly bombarded with evidence that everyone else seems to be living a better life than we are. But this perception is fundamentally flawed because we're comparing our internal experience with others' external presentations. The comparison trap is particularly insidious because it creates a moving goalpost. As soon as we achieve something we've been envying in others, we immediately find new targets for comparison. The promotion we desperately wanted becomes ordinary once we have it, and we start eyeing the next level up. This hedonic treadmill ensures we're never satisfied with our achievements. Comparison also robs us of the ability to appreciate our unique journey and accomplishments. When we're constantly measuring ourselves against others, we lose sight of our own progress and growth. That book you finally finished writing might seem insignificant compared to a best-selling author, but it represents months of dedication and creativity that deserve recognition.
The mental health costs of chronic comparison are severe. Studies have linked excessive social comparison to increased rates of depression, anxiety, and low self-esteem. When we consistently judge ourselves as falling short, our brain begins to accept this as truth, creating negative thought patterns that become increasingly difficult to break. Comparison can also damage our relationships. When we view others primarily through the lens of competition, we struggle to genuinely celebrate their successes or offer authentic support during their challenges. This prevents us from forming deep, meaningful connections and can leave us feeling isolated and envious rather than connected and supportive. The perfectionism that often accompanies comparison creates additional stress. We set unrealistic standards based on others' apparent perfection, not realizing that perfection is an illusion. Everyone struggles, everyone fails, and everyone has moments of doubt and insecurity, but these realities are rarely shared publicly. One of the most damaging aspects of comparison is how it distorts our perception of time and progress. We compare our day 1 to someone else's day 1,000, forgetting that everyone starts somewhere. The successful entrepreneur you admire likely faced years of failures and setbacks before achieving their current status, but you only see the end result. Comparison also prevents us from recognizing our own strengths and unique value proposition. Each person has a different combination of talents, experiences, and perspectives that make them valuable. When we're focused on how we measure against others in specific areas, we miss the bigger picture of our overall worth and potential contributions. The fear of judgment that accompanies comparison can paralyze us from taking action. We avoid pursuing goals or sharing our work because we're afraid it won't measure up to what others have achieved. This fear-based decision-making keeps us stuck and prevents us from growing and contributing to the world in our own unique way. So how do we break free from this destructive pattern? The first step is developing awareness of when and why we compare ourselves to others. Start paying attention to your thoughts and emotions when you encounter others' successes or possessions. Notice the physical sensations that accompany these feelings: the tightness in your chest, the knot in your stomach, the tension in your shoulders.
Practice mindfulness to create space between the trigger and your emotional response. When you notice yourself beginning to compare, pause and take 3 deep breaths. Acknowledge the feeling without judgment, then consciously choose how you want to respond rather than reacting automatically. Reframe your perspective on others' success. Instead of viewing it as evidence of your own inadequacy, try to see it as proof of what's possible. If someone in a similar situation to yours has achieved something you desire, it shows that it's within the realm of possibility for you too. Let their success inspire rather than intimidate you. Focus on your own progress rather than your position relative to others. Keep a journal of your daily wins, no matter how small. Did you exercise today? Did you have a meaningful conversation with a friend? Did you learn something new? These personal victories are far more relevant to your happiness than how you stack up against others. Limit your exposure to comparison triggers, especially on social media. You don't have to quit entirely, but be intentional about your consumption. Unfollow accounts that consistently make you feel inadequate and curate your feed to include content that inspires and educates rather than triggers comparison. When you do encounter others' success stories, practice genuine celebration. Comment congratulations on their posts, share their achievements, or send them a personal message of support. This shifts your mindset from competition to collaboration and helps rewire your brain to associate other success with positive emotions. Develop a growth mindset that views challenges and setbacks as opportunities for learning rather than evidence of inadequacy. When you face obstacles that others seem to have avoided, remind yourself that difficulties are often the price of growth and that everyone's path is different. Practice gratitude daily by listing 3 things you're thankful for in your own life. This helps shift your focus from what you lack compared to others to what you already have. Gratitude is a powerful antidote to the scarcity mindset that fuels comparison.
Invest time in understanding your own values and priorities. What truly matters to you might be completely different from what matters to the people you're comparing yourself to. Success in their terms might not align with your definition of a fulfilling life, so their achievements aren't relevant benchmarks for your happiness. Surround yourself with supportive people who celebrate your unique qualities and journey. Seek out friends and mentors who encourage your growth without making you feel inadequate about where you currently are. The right community can help you see your worth clearly and provide encouragement when comparison thoughts arise. Remember that everyone is fighting battles you know nothing about. That person with the perfect social media presence might be struggling with anxiety. The colleague who seems to have it all together might be dealing with family problems. Behind every apparent success story is a human being facing their own challenges and insecurities. Develop self-compassion by treating yourself with the same kindness you would show a good friend. When you notice yourself engaging in harsh self-criticism based on comparisons, ask yourself what you would say to a friend in the same situation. Then offer yourself that same compassion and understanding. Create your own definition of success based on your values, circumstances, and aspirations rather than adopting society's generic measures. Success might mean having strong relationships, making a positive impact, pursuing creative expression, or achieving work-life balance. Define it for yourself and measure your progress against your own standards.
Practice the art of celebrating small wins. Every step forward deserves recognition, regardless of how it compares to others' achievements. Finished a difficult project at work? Celebrate it. Maintained a friendship through a tough time? That's worth acknowledging. These moments of self-recognition build confidence and resilience against comparison. Use comparison as a tool for learning rather than self-judgment. When you admire someone's skills or achievements, study what they did to get there. What strategies did they use? What obstacles did they overcome? How can you apply their lessons to your own journey? Transform envy into education. Engage in activities that connect you with your authentic self and bring you joy independent of external validation. This might be art, music, sports, volunteering, or spending time in nature. When you're engaged in activities that fulfill you intrinsically, you're less likely to seek validation through comparison. Practice abundance thinking by recognizing that someone else's success doesn't diminish your opportunities. There isn't a finite amount of success, happiness, or achievement to go around. Others' accomplishments can coexist with your own future successes without taking anything away from you. Develop emotional intelligence to better understand and manage your comparison triggers. Learn to recognize the emotions that arise when you compare yourself to others, and develop healthy coping strategies. This might include talking to a trusted friend, engaging in physical exercise, or practicing relaxation techniques. Remember that comparison is often based on incomplete information. You're comparing your full reality, including your struggles, doubts, and failures, to others' curated presentations. This is like comparing a movie's behind-the-scenes footage to its polished final cut. The comparison is inherently unfair and inaccurate. Focus on contribution rather than competition. Instead of asking, "How do I measure up?" ask, "How can I contribute?" This shift moves you from a scarcity mindset to an abundance mindset, where success becomes about adding value to the world rather than outperforming others. Cultivate patience with your own timeline. Everyone develops at their own pace, faces different obstacles, and has access to different resources. Your journey will unfold in its own time, and rushing or forcing it based on others' timelines will only create unnecessary stress and disappointment. Practice digital detoxes regularly to reset your perspective and reconnect with your offline reality. Spend time away from devices and social media to remember what matters in your actual life rather than your digital life. This break can help you gain clarity on your true priorities and values. Seek professional help if comparison thoughts become overwhelming or interfere with your daily functioning. A therapist can help you develop personalized strategies for managing these thoughts and address any underlying issues that might be contributing to chronic comparison. Develop a strong sense of self-worth based on your inherent value as a human being rather than your achievements or possessions. You are worthy of love and respect simply because you exist, not because of what you accomplish or how you measure against others. This fundamental shift in self-perception is the foundation for breaking free from comparison. Create meaning in your life through service to others. When you're focused on how you can help, support, or contribute to others' well-being, you naturally become less focused on how you measure up. Volunteering, mentoring, or simply being present for friends and family can shift your perspective from self-focused comparison to other-focused contribution. practice acceptance of your current situation while still working toward growth. You can simultaneously be content with where you are and motivated to improve. This balanced approach prevents the dissatisfaction that fuels comparison while maintaining healthy ambition. Remember that overcoming the comparison habit is itself a journey that requires patience and self-compassion. You won't eliminate these thoughts overnight, and that's perfectly normal. Each time you catch yourself comparing and consciously choose a different response, you're building the mental muscle that will eventually make this new way of thinking automatic. Build a life that feels authentic and fulfilling to you, regardless of how it looks to others. When you're living in alignment with your values and pursuing goals that genuinely matter to you, external comparisons become less relevant and less powerful. Finally, recognize that breaking free from comparison is one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself and others. When you stop measuring your worth against others, you free yourself to pursue your authentic path, and you free others from the pressure of being your benchmark. This creates space for genuine relationships, authentic self-expression, and the kind of success that actually brings lasting satisfaction. The journey away from comparison and toward self-acceptance is challenging but transformative. It requires consistent practice, patience, and compassion. But the reward is immense. A life lived on your own terms, measured by your own standards, and filled with the peace that comes from knowing your worth isn't determined by how you stack up against anyone else.